to TheWolverine.com hockey season preview. I am here with Noah Rudin, former goalie at Michigan, Dave Hunsaker, former defenseman at Michigan, and Brandon Kalanicky, former forward at Michigan. Guys, new season, the team is actually practicing behind us right now, getting ready for it. A lot of changes that have taken place coming into the season. The big one, obviously, Big Ten. You guys never got a chance to play in the Big Ten. How do you think this is going to go with just 5 teams that Michigan's going to be playing up against?
I personally think it's really exciting. I know every time that we went out to Wisconsin and Minnesota, those are big games and really nice regions. So I think only 5 teams, but it's still going to be fresh and exciting for everybody, for the fans too, to see big programs coming together. Penn State's going to be exciting to see what their arena's like, what their team they can do the first year. So I know it's only 5 teams, but it's
6 teams, 5 opponents.
But it's going to be I think a lot of fun for them the first year to have those sets.
I think it changes the dynamic of everything quite a bit, because you're no longer playing, Ferris State, Lake State, where no matter what the records are, Michigan coming to play Ferris or Lake State or it's, they're always going to be there. Whereas, Big Ten, everybody's really has quite a tradition. Ohio State's still fairly new, but besides Penn State, everybody's been a hockey power. So it changes that aspect of it quite a bit. They're not going into Ferris State and just expecting that type of atmosphere. They're playing a team that's traditionally very strong no matter what it is.
Well, certainly when you look at it, Minnesota and Michigan are 2 of the most storied programs in college hockey history. Wisconsin has had great success, especially under Mike Eaves. They've done some really nice things. Michigan State is down a little bit right now. Tom Anastas is struggling with trying to get his feet underneath him, but has been a great program. When you look at it, and I don't know how much you guys had a chance to look at the other teams, but Minnesota was the #1 team in the country last year until they lost to Yale. I thought what was interesting is that on last week, Michigan got voted 3rd in the preseason. When's the last time you can remember Michigan not being 1 or 2 in the preseason polls?
It's been a long time. One thing that we're going to miss though about CCHA is, I don't know if hatred is the right word, but you hated playing Ferris because they played tough, they played physical, they played that defensive style, and you have to build these new sort of head-to-head things like Wisconsin very talented, but we only play them once a year. Wisconsin very talented, playing once a year. When you play a team 3 or 4 times, you develop that hatred for a team. So you're going to miss that, but that'll be developed over the next 5 years.
How long do you think it'll take to hate Minnesota?
The first time they put a big number on you, you'll hate them. But the thing is, you have to play them the next night, which is not something that's typically happened for us. And those second night games tend to be a little bit more chippy. You see a lot more penalties, and that's really when you develop those rivalries.
Well, I know that one of the things that comes with this Big Ten, and Dave and I were talking about it a little bit earlier, but the non-conference schedule changes dramatically because you have so many games to fill. And I think it was when you guys were playing, Boston College came here. I believe everybody remembers it because it was, I think, Jack's first game, Jack Johnson's first game. And one of his first shots, he hit Corey Schneider in the helmet, and his mask came off. And everyone went, "Oh my God, this kid is really as good as we thought he was going to be." What is this non-conference like for you guys to see Boston College, BU, New Hampshire, UMass Lowell, RIT, all these great teams are on the schedule all at the same time?
Well, I think it's good for the program to establish themselves and say we're not doing this, taking a cakewalk, hey, we're still a national powerhouse, we're still Michigan, and we can play with all these East Coast teams that maybe some people think are stronger than our program. I like it a lot. Not only does it give everyone a litmus test early on in the season, but you always enjoy playing different conferences, see what their styles are, see what those, you hear about them a lot. We, unfortunately, because we had such a big CCHA schedule, we didn't go out east that much at all. I think we were in New Hampshire once, and there was only a tournament. BC came to us, so a few of these smaller schools came to us. I got to imagine for the programs and the players, they're probably really excited to go out east and to actually play all these other conferences.
So it's very exciting. You mentioned the game against Boston College, but outside of that, barely you see a team of that stature come to us. Team New Hampshire came one time.
Merriman came, but they didn't get there. They weren't any. At least they weren't as prominent as they were in the past couple of years.
Yeah, so that's exciting, and you think about it for the NCAA tournament. So you get to see these teams early in the season. If you make it to the NCAA tournament, you kind of have a little bit more to go on. You've seen that type of conference play. You've seen the Hockey East because you played a couple of teams. So you kind of at least have a little bit better understanding of what the difference may be.
games that might have helped you out, but you can fill it with top 15 teams, either wins or losses. Those are going to look good, hopefully with wins. You know, when you come towards the end of the season, you're trying to get those points out there to get inside the bubble if you can't win.
Dave, do you remember from your 4 years, I mean that was a long time ago, but do you remember who was the most exciting non-conference team that came into Yost when you guys were playing?
Not really.
Okay.
No, I mean, we had Colgate come in, they were an NCAA team. We had a Fire. And I think we had, I was like Quinnipiac one year, and they sort of surprised us and tied us the first night. So I think that coaches always sort of looked at maybe like a team that was going to finish third or fourth, sort of guessing, to try and bring them in because that would help us in the pair wise. But we never really traveled too much. And I think it's going to help the development of the kids behind us in that when we play professionally, you have to go to different rinks every night and play games rather than play most of your schedule at home and then play at rinks that you're used to playing at within the conference. I think that's a good thing. And selfishly, as a season ticket holder, I'd love to be excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting to talk about the college game versus the pro game, and obviously this has been something that, you know, college hockey has hired someone to promote college hockey versus the major juniors. And looking at the schedule this year, it's not an overwhelming number, but they do play on a Monday. They play on a Wednesday. They play on a Thursday. It's not the Friday, Saturday, every single game. And part of that, I think part of that feeling is, I know it's Big Ten Network, hey, they want to have a game on a Tuesday night, but you can say to someone, listen, you're gonna have to adapt to what it's like to playing professional hockey where you're not playing just on the weekends, where you're spending, you know, 5 days getting up for it. What do you think? Do you think that'll help them a little bit to kind of get used to a more professional schedule?
Definitely. I think it changes the practice side of it too. You don't have a whole week just gearing up for one opponent. It's going to be a quick turnaround from the game, and that's a big difference between the college and pros. It's a quick turnaround to the next game. Maybe you have a nice win on Saturday, but you're already playing down Monday or Tuesday. You can't spend a lot of time really dwelling on it and enjoying it too. Get ready for the next team that comes fast. I think that'll change the practice side of it too. It's like, all right, you're the page and hurry, man.
And I think Coach, when we were here, started this trend of maybe not the weekday games, but he wanted a lot of home and homes. He wanted to break it up. He wanted to drive for more of a pro type schedule so that all of the players were prepared for that. And I do agree, it's the travel as well. It's the routine. You know, everything in every sport. We talk about the NFL players and how Thursday game, there's something that's like a routine. And I think that is something you get used to going from the college level to the pro level. Is when the routine changes. You don't have that Sunday off. And you don't have that 4 days of practice with, you know, Monday's hard, Tuesday's hard, Wednesday's light, Thursday's nothing, then a game. You know, it is going to change it up to a routine. And let it go back. That they go past that, they know how to prepare themselves for different games and different practice schedules. I think it's a great push to like it to go.
It was interesting, and Dave, you said you're a season ticket holder, and I wonder, something I thought Red was a smart observation is that as much as fans have gotten used to Friday and Saturdays, maybe some people don't want to give up both a Friday and a Saturday night. As a season ticket holder, did that ever bother you that I'm making a commitment for an entire weekend, I'm going to be here both nights of my weekend?
It can be a lot, yeah. I mean, you know, everybody has families, everybody has things to do, and two days in a row is going to be a challenge. But it can be equally a challenge to try and get to a game on a Tuesday night. You sure have to work late. You know, you're showing up at 8:30 or something, and you've missed half the game. And so there's a big push over the football stadium with the students in the football stadium early. Well, you know, we don't want to play in front of a half-empty rink, so there has to be some consideration there. You know, although we do want some midday midweek games, I don't know if we want a ton.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're talking about some of the extra stuff right now. Let's actually talk a little about the team that we're going to see. This is a team that a year ago did not make the NCAA tournament, first time in 23 seasons. I'm sure it was hard for all of you guys that had kept that streak alive, but I know I'm talking to Dave especially last year. He said he's, as a former player, very proud of the guys the way they finished. Went 8-1-1 in the last 10 games, came within 2 goals of extending the tournament streak, just losing to Notre Dame in the CCHA finals, and really kind of came together as you'd expect a Michigan team to do so. And one of the guys that really played well down the stretch, I want to ask Noah about it specifically, is Steve Racine. The goalie, I mean, we watched the whole first 3 months, 4 months of the season. Was it Jared Butler, Steve Racine, Adam Janicek? Everybody got a chance. Nobody really kind of took that bull by the horns. What happened in the last 10 games that it was Steve Racine, and how much do you think that'll translate going into this season?
I think tons. And I think on the back end, to translate into the season how it finishes, not only is it huge for Racine's confidence, but we can tell the coaches and the team's confidence in the offseason of not having to worry about going out and finding another freshman goalie. They were very comfortable because it's like, we have our guy, we can't miss. Now, going back to the start of the question, the first few months, we had a bunch of young guys who had zero college experience on their belts. Talented, yes, but they're getting thrown into the spotlight, not just of playing at Michigan, but they haven't played in general. And that's tough to throw someone into, tough to throw a lot of goalies, and I think they were all dealing with that stress differently and that pressure on themselves. And they were all trying to find themselves, and I think it's a slippery slope when you start losing confidence in your goaltender, or as a goalie you lose confidence in yourself. It's really hard to kind of go back up that slope. Now, in the final stretch, you see him play fantastic, and the team responded. And I think it's because finally, it's almost unfortunate, but their position was so far kind of down at that point that coach said we need to take one guy and give him that experience, give him that confidence. Like, you're a guy, like the last 15 games, just go with it. And you can see how he developed. He played consistently every night. I think he knew that, okay, one small mess up or a bad goal, I'm not done, my career's over. I'm going to get a chance to redeem myself. And he kind of used that confidence to snowball. And you see what's happening. He's a confident young man in the CCHA tournament, and over the summer, everyone around him, I think they will lead to a much better start next year.
Well, goalie play should be a strength for this team, but he's got a new defensive core for the most part. And Dave, I want to ask you, because it's interesting, Red said we've got a lot of new guys, we've got a lot of youth in there, but they actually have 5 guys coming back that are in their senior year or in their junior year that have played a lot of hockey. He still considers this a young defensive core just because maybe you lose Jacob Truba, you lose John Merrill, and some of those guys, those juniors, Brennan Serval and Mike Chason and Mike Zuma, were guys that rotated in on the line. So it wasn't like they were the full-time starters. When you look at this defensive core, how concerned are you, and where do they have the incoming freshmen? Do they have the playmakers that you think are going to take this team going really quickly?
Well, I'm going to agree with that. I mean, they have basically an inexperienced room. And I say inexperienced group. You have a lot of guys who have played a lot of minutes, but not in every situation. And guys that, you don't have like more than 1 or 2 guys that play 20 minutes a game. And that's important. You have kids that are bouncing in and out of lineup. It's that same confidence thing that Noah just mentioned with the goaltenders. And you get nervous. Am I going to be in the lineup or not? And so I think they're going to rely on the incoming freshmen. And coaches always given incoming freshmen a lot of leeway to develop themselves, get in the lineup, and play a lot. And I think they're going to rely heavily on that. And the coaches believe they have a very strong recruiting process here defensively. So we're going to have to see. But, I think they like what they're doing.
They have a high-round draft, big defenseman coming in, big kid. And I think one area, though, just to piggyback what you're saying of inexperience that I am interested to see is the power play. Just to see, Truba was a big stick back there, and there was a big boy. Those are guys that logged a lot of ice time, as you said, but a lot of key ice time, a lot of key plays in situations. I'm curious to see, how the other guys step up in those roles and carry it early on in those more specialty situations.
That happens every year. I mean, that's the beauty of the way they recruit. That happens every year. Jack Johnson's here one year, he's gone the next, someone else is filling in. That's kind of the way they've progressed the program to the point where, whoever's coming in, you're expected to fill that role. I mean, it may not be all just you, no one guy's going to fill Jacob Truba or, those guys' shoes, but, the expectation is somebody will step up and, be a big-time freshman.
Well, and they'll need one of those freshmen because when you look at the power play, Mac Bennett is a guy that can be offensive. We haven't seen a ton of it, but he can be an offensive defenseman when he needs to be. Ryan Clare's not an offensive defenseman. Mike Chason and Michael Zuma are not offensive defensemen. Maybe Brennan Serval could be. He has some of those instincts. But they're going to need some of those freshmen. And I know they've used forwards before. The forwards don't need to be on that back wheel. Don't you guys agree?
I played so on one-on-one, I'll tell you.
I don't think you need offensive defensive play on the power play level. Shockingly enough, I ran the power play for 2 years. And I'm not an offensive defensive. And I could distribute the puck and good around me. And I
Well, they're very talented guys.
They were very talented. But all I would do is I would give it to Comrie, I would give it to Jilson, I would give it to Reinfeld, and they would make the plays. But my job was to get in there, put them in position, handle the puck, and make plays. So you don't need a superstar, you don't need a real offensive defenseman, you just need a defenseman that can distribute the puck.
I think that's where coaching comes in to find not only a D-man, but that system that allows them to distribute the plays and not have to do anything on their own. Systems that will let their players fit in where they need to fit and create those plays for them if they don't have or don't want to use one of those guys as, like I said, a true offensive defenseman. We don't have that.
Well, Cal, you have the easy job here because Red said, I talked about it today, forward is where we're the strongest. We have no problems there. They like their depth. They have, they can roll out 5 lines if they need to. Last year, when you look at the last 10-game stretch we talked about with Steve Racine, they found a really good number 1 line. Andrew Kopp, who is a kid from, that played locally here in Ann Arbor and was a football player, played multiple sports in high school and really kind of came on strong. Alex Guptill on the left wing and Derek DeBoer on the right wing. So they found a number 1 line. When you come into a year, how important is it, to have a group that you know already, that chemistry is there, that to get the season going, that, hey, let's just roll these 3 guys together and see if they can pick up where they left off?
I think it's huge. It gives you some form of consistency to how they finish. We've seen back in that again. That's good as far as how they finish because they finally found something that worked. And this line, it worked. So, granted, chemistry can be there one day and be gone the next. That tends to happen. But at the same time, the kids obviously play well together. We figure they've just gotten better. Maybe they're going to take a little bit more responsibility on themselves because they may not feel like they have to be leaders.
And I think as a team, if we have a line, not just the line themselves, but the team sees a line that they like, they're confident in. And again, it's a term we all use. Obviously, confidence is huge, but I know we would send out our top line or Evan McHale line or something like that where we are confident that
everything's on the top line.
You got 20 goals somehow, I'll tell you that.
Wasn't to me.
Do you send out one of those lines that you are confident in as a team? If things are starting to, some part of the game where you're starting to scramble a little bit, and you throw up that top line that you're confident in, okay, the ship's going to get righted, they'll stop the bleeding real quick, and you get back on. So it's really important that not only to find that line, but hopefully them to hold that and have that confidence in the team to throw one of those guys, one line out there that will really shore it up.
And I hope they relish that.
Yeah.
That's another thing. You want them to enjoy being looked at as kind of the go-to guys. All right, you know what? We need to go in here. Third period, tie 1-1 or down 2-1 or something, things like that. All right, that's the line we expect them to go out and get it. And the other interesting part you mentioned is 5 lines. There's going to be a lot of competition. A lot of competition with the number of players they have on the team. Says that there's going to be some guys that maybe the line are going to be ready to play at your time.
Last question for you guys, and we've had a nice time here. Wanted to ask about the leadership because a year ago the leadership was a problem, and not taking anything away from the guys that wore the letters, but none of them had worn the letter the year before, and I think they had a really tough time kind of figuring themselves out who was supposed to be in charge. And yes, AJ Treyas had a C, but he was not a naturally vocal kind of guy and struggled a little bit with that. I think they really wanted Mac Bennett to assert himself, but he was a junior wearing an A, and how hard was that to kind of take over for when you had 3 seniors that had letters? And finally kind of came together late in the year. But Mac Bennett is back, he's got the C, he's already worn it for a year. Derek DeBoer is going to be an alternate, and Andrew Kopp is going to be an alternate, and it's a pretty high honor for a sophomore. This guy. Do you think the leadership will be better this year, Dave? And how much does it help to have a guy come back that has already worn a letter?
I think the experience will be helpful. I think Mac has some expectations you have to live up to. But I don't. Leadership can't be pointed at just for the 3 guys. Like leadership comes from a whole senior class, or it comes from a junior class. Maybe one of the best leaders that Michigan's ever had is David Harlock, 3-year captain. Right? And you'll see that Cobb is going to wear a letter in theory for 3 years if he sticks around. But you gravitate towards those guys as leaders, and David Harlock is a leader right from his freshman. We need other guys, freshmen, sophomores, we need everybody to take that leadership role and not just expect the Mac Bennett, the Derek DeBoer, and the Cobb to carry it up. That's too heavy of a load for
Cal wore the A this year. fine on the ice, but the leadership in college really is behind the scenes. We do so much together when you're young kids on a college campus together. When you're the pros, everyone has their fingers, and kind of move off away from it, you kind of do your own thing. And so leadership's in the locker room and on the ice. I feel college, it transcends much more away from the ice. And how much respect the younger kids and everybody has for your leaders, whether you're in the NSC or not, away from the ice. How you control them away from the ice, how you control their habits and move around together. So I think it's good to have guys on the ice at the moment. Better before, like you said, but I think it's more important how they control their leadership goes off the ice to control it from there. Because that's, I think, what's much more important for these college, as an assistant for probably speak all that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the important thing is, you mentioned about the pressure and all the things that, obviously students will go in trouble accepting the responsibility. I think the important thing is not, you became a leader for a reason. It's not to change who you are. It's not to become more vocal. If you're not being a leader, you can't force it. Because, maybe there's a time when you need to say something, then you say it. But you can't go from being the quiet kid in the locker room, calling the captain, the guy who tells you, the choice because how you led on the ice, how you led off the ice, the way you handled yourself. All those type of things become way more important than everything you say. Sometimes it's just how you play, how you carry yourself. Really good to do that.
Okay. I got one more question real quick. Who's the Big Ten champion?
Michigan. I'm always going to say Michigan.
I mean, that's it. You can't bet against Michigan. I will say I'm really interested to see when you play Minnesota's and Wisconsin's 4 times as opposed to one like the College Hockey Showcase. I'm really interested to see how the team handles that and plays up to those different